and welcome to another review from Colour with Claire. Today I have a set of the most beautiful pencils to show you, pencils which are right at the top of the ladder in terms of production quality and performance on the page. Now Caran have several tiers of water-soluble pencils which all act differently and are of varying quality, though you will find that most of their products are fantastic whatever the price point. The Museum Aquarelle, which I have here, are their most premium line, designed for professional artists who want the finest, most light, fast, water-soluble pencils available to buy. If you want the absolute best colourists, the book stops here. So let's have a look at the packaging first of all. Now these pencils come in the same box type as luminance pencils, which is this rigid board with dense foam inserts. So you can see it here under the lid, but it also has it between every individual pencil and between each of the 3 layers as well. Now clearly these pencils are worthy of such a level of protection because at this price you won't want a flimsy tin or a misshapen cardboard cover to store them in. More about the cost later on, but needless to say, it is a case of comparing solid gold to aluminum. You get what you pay for. Now, if the box wasn't luxurious enough, just wait until you hold the pencils in your hands. They're made of premium cedar wood with a matte black coated finish. These are clearly a world apart from the kind of brightly coloured, slippery feeling pencils you might find in your local shop. They have more of a serious feel and look to them. You know straight away that these are something special. The pencils have an 8mm casing around a sumptuous 3.8mm thick lead, giving you a strong, dense core that stands up to sharpening yet feels soft as silk on the page. They're hexagonally shaped, so they're not going to roll off your desk, which is good. Now on the barrel you have the Museum Aquarelle name alongside a paintbrush symbol indicating the water-soluble properties of the lead. Of course, like all Caran products, these are Swiss made. You then have the FSC stamp, which tells you that the timber that these pencils are made from has come from sustainable and eco-friendly forests. Now on the flip side, you've got the colour name and then the light fast star rating, which is measured by the popular blue wool scale. Now museum pencils are all between 5 and 3 star. None of the pencils touch the low rated 1 or 2 stars. 61 out of the 76 are 5 star and will not alter, dull or in any way change for at least 100 years under museum conditions. This superior level of light fastness in a watercolour pencil, which can be rather a difficult thing to achieve because usually as soon as you add water, light fastness is dramatically reduced. That's unsurpassed as far as I know. So just have a look at the colours here. You can see this is the green and earthy toned tray. And then you've got all of the browns, the skin kind of colours and beautiful ochres and colours like that. You've got grey, you've got 2 blacks. They are different blacks. I think one is called ivory and one of them is just called black. So that one will be slightly lighter. You then have 2 of the Caran Technolo graphite pencils, which are in HB and 3B, and they're also water-soluble graphite as well, so professional pencils included as well. The only thing I would say about the colour range is that it's lacking in greys. You can see here that we've only really got 2 cold greys and then a few kind of Frenchy looking greys, but I would have liked to have seen more. But obviously with 76 pencils compared to say Prismacolor's 150, you are going to have to sacrifice colours somewhere. So I would have liked more greys. The green and the blues are absolutely stunning. You've got a massive range of greens in particular. I would have liked to see some more reds, but really, you know, I'm very, very happy with the colours on offer here. And the main thing about the Museum Aquarelle that sets them apart from any other watercolour pencil is that light fastness. So if you're a colourist that really is concerned about your pieces lasting and not fading over time, then you will want something like this over a cheaper kind of watercolour pencil. If you're not bothered, if you're just colouring for fun, you want to leave it in your book, you don't really care what it's going to look like in 100 years' time, then probably professional expensive pencils like this aren't really for you. But again, if you're someone like me who kind of hankers for the best of the best in the art supply world, then you are going to absolutely love these. They are stunning. So the pigment saturation is really unmatched when compared to other pencils in this category, creating a level of vibrancy that's actually more akin to ink than pencil. In fact, Derwent Inktense pencils are the only other powerfully vibrant soluble pencil I know of, but of course they're made of permanent ink, which can't be reworked when it's dry. So I'd argue that the museum pencils are like having these vivid colours of ink with the ability to go back in and lighten or manipulate the pigments whenever you like. So it really is the best of both worlds. And you can just see how the pencil mark that I made has completely dissolved. So you're not left with any ugly marks, and you can just see how beautifully bright and vivid and saturated the colour is. They're just so opaque. That's why I think they're different to other watercolour pencils that I find can be quite wishy-washy by nature. But these really are as opaque as paint. Even when you add loads of water, they still feel more like Neocolor 2 crayons because they're just so rich and packed with pigment. In fact, I've got a Neocolor crayon here, so you can just see the difference. Let's do a little swatch again with the Neocolor Scarlet and the Museum Scarlet. So I'm going to do the Neocolor first of all. Of course, they are absolutely stunning to use. They melt beautifully and they're packed with pigment. And then again with the Museum, you can see they're even more saturated and rich, and they still dissolve just as well. And of course, you've got that kind of precision in the pencil that you don't get with the Neocolors, so really versatile as well. The other thing that I noticed about these pencils is that they're just as easy to use dry as they are wet. Now, this is something not always possible with watercolour pencils because some of them only really release their colour when you add the water. And if you try and use them dry, they're just too sticky and waxy feeling. With the Museums, they could quite comfortably be used dry and left without water. They feel really, really creamy and velvety on the page, and they take no effort at all to lay down very opaque colour off the bat. So I'm going to take an orange, and what have we got here? We've got a vermilion and a cornelian. So I'm just going to use these dry now. You can see beautiful saturation of colour when dry. There's no waxy feel, no build up. They lay down absolutely beautifully. They don't really need any kind of blending whatsoever. There's no effort needed. I'm going to bring in, this is orange. And then let's go for the gold cadmium yellow. And a bit of a lighter yellow, this is just yellow. So you can see a beautiful blend really without having to do anything. And the watercolour paper that I'm using here is Fabriano 200 GSM watercolour paper. Now they work on all kinds of paper, so don't worry, you can use them in your colouring books, and I will show you that in a second. But I'm just going to add water so you can see. So dry, really vibrant, really saturated and rich. We're going to start off, let's start off in the yellow and move up to the darker colours. So I really love the fact that it completely dissolves. There's no pencil marks left on the page whatsoever. It really does feel like a thick paint rather than what you would expect from a standard watercolour pencil. So you can just go back in there and change up little bits of it. If you wanted to, you can make it more sort of ombre by bringing out the darker colour down a little bit. Totally up to you what you want to do. But absolutely fantastic blendable pencils. So I said that I'd show you how they work on normal paper. This is Johanna Basford's Magical Jungle, and you can just see how bold the colours are, how they blend even when dry on this kind of paper. But you have got that option of adding a bit of water to give a more painterly look and bring out the maximum vibrancy of the colours. So you can see they blend just as well on standard colouring book paper as they do on watercolour paper, which is really great. It makes them versatile and able to be used on pretty much any kind of surface of paper. So you can see I'm using loads of different colours here, so you can really get a look at the range of different colours and how they all work together. They're absolutely beautiful. As I say, they're more kind of like inks than paints, than watercolour paints, though they really pack a punch with that intensity. And if you're looking for something that is very, very vibrant, very rich and bold, but you still have that ability to rework them, and of course they're very, very light fast, then look no further. So here is a swatch of all of the colours from Museum pencils in their own right. You can see that I've used water on them and they're still as beautiful and vibrant as ever. There's a couple on the back there as well, just the last few pencils. But the palette wise, I think that these are very much like the Luminance in that they kind of focus on earthy kind of landscapey tones, which is just fantastic. You've got loads and loads of marine kind of underwater or sky blues here that you can use for your landscape colouring. Again, tons and tons of greens ranging from limey greens, very bright, to olivey kind of greens, moss greens and forest greens, turquoises, blue greens. One of my favourite colours in the entire set is the beryl green, which you will see me swatch out if you look for my previous live stream when I actually did this live on camera. Everybody was commenting on how beautiful this beryl green was. Also the phthalo green too. Some of my absolute favourite colours are those really rich parrot kind of exotic greens, so I adore them. You've got loads and loads of browns, so again fantastic for your earth tones. Loads of ochres, lots of tan browns, reddish browns. I love this russet colour. You've got colours that you could use for skin. You've got the anthraquinoid pink, the violet pink, the burnt sienna 50%, and, you know, various others that you can use for skin. Would have liked a few more reds, as I've mentioned, maybe a few more purples, and again, a few more greys. I probably would have taken out one of these blacks and added another grey or added another red. But overall, I'm really, really pleased with the colour selection that Caran have managed to achieve with this very, very high light fast rating. So next we come on to cost. So the costs, as I mentioned earlier, are quite substantial, and that is down mainly to the light fastness properties that we discussed earlier. So if you're a professional artist who sells your pieces to customers or commissions them to galleries, you're not going to want your colours to fade or change over time. So that's why professional artists only ever really use very light fast supplies in their pieces. Similarly, if you're a colourist who wants to give away your pieces as gifts or display them and frame them on the wall, or even if you're planning on your colouring books and your pieces becoming your legacy, you know, for your grandchildren and their children to look through in years to come, you're not going to want any of your colours to change or dull or fade. You're going to want them to look exactly as bright and beautiful as they were on the day that you coloured them, and that's really where you would need something of this standard. If you're a colourist who really isn't concerned with light fastness or, you know, how long a pencil lasts over time, then these are probably maybe a step too much for you. If you wanted to get some cheaper watercolour pencils to try out, there's plenty across the board in all kind of different brands. But if you, like me, just hanker for these creme de la creme art supplies, I think we all do really, and you want something that's really going to pack a punch, these Museums are certainly the best watercolour pencils I've ever used. As you saw earlier with the Neo colour demonstration, they really pack a punch in terms of pigment. The cheaper watercolour pencils often have a higher binder to pigment ratio, which is why they don't have as much saturation of colour and they feel quite waxy and stiff on the page. Whereas these are the opposite, they have a lot more pigment compared to the binder, which is why they're just so bright and vivid. So the cost of the box that I showed you today, the 76 set, is currently £249.99, which I know is a massive, massive layout. So if you just want to try these pencils before you put out all of this cash, that's what I'd recommend you do. You can get open stock pencils for £2.99 each. Get yourself a handful of those. It's what I always say whenever I show a new pencil, because you can never really know 100% how a pencil performs by watching videos. You've got to get it in your hand and test it out yourself. Some colourists prefer harder pencils, some prefer softer pencils. You know, it's such a personal preference, a coloured pencil. Some like oil, some like wax. You really have to get some for yourself to try them out and see. Now, the prices that I'm giving you are on cultpens.com, which is my #1 shop for getting art supplies, because they really care about the quality of the supplies that they're selling. The packaging that they come in is always fantastic. You know that you're going to get a beautiful product, brand new, gorgeous packaging, very, very high quality and sourced, you know, properly. I know that you can get often some pencils like Prismacolors that are knockoffs and things that you buy from, you know, Amazon or eBay or wherever, and you can be quite concerned sometimes that you're getting the true product. With Cult pens, you know that they are sourced right from the manufacturer. They're very, very reliable. They have fast delivery. They deliver worldwide. So really, that's the one place that I would recommend overall. Now, also, I have a 10% exclusive discount code for you for Cult pens across the whole Caran Museum range. So if you go to the link in the description, you'll see that they have this box for $249. They have the wooden box for $349 if you're really going to push the boat out. And they have those single open stock pencils for $299 as well. If you pop in the code MUSEUM10 at the checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase of the museum range. So please don't forget to do that, and do let me know in the comments what you think about them. Have you got them? Do you want them? Have you tried them? What do you think? I love hearing from you. Please leave me a comment and I'll try and reply if you ask me a question. If not, I'll always leave you a love heart so that you know I've read it. Do like the video, give it a thumbs up please, and subscribe to the channel if you are interested in all things colouring and art, because I have tons and tons of content on here. So again, all the links in the description, and I will see you next time on Colour with Claire.